Welcome. Welcome to the Church of Perpetual Life. My name is Neil Vandry. I'm your officiator here, and I'd like to welcome you to our event tonight. We have a special service. Tonight, we have an open microphone night. We have many speakers standing by to give their excellent presentations. I'd like to talk with you about cryonics suspension. If you're interested in cryonics, please connect with me. You can connect with me through stopoldage@aol.com or email me at the website www.perpetual.life. Easily reach me, and I'll be very happy to get you more information about cryonics if you are curious. Here at Perpetual Life, we are a transhumanist church. What brings us together is a common desire to live unlimited lifespans in perfect health. We are working toward and succeeding at living our best unlimited lifespans and defeating death every day. Our services are once a month. And our service next month will be Thursday, September the 26th, where we will have Natasha Vidamore and Emil Canziora. That event will be in Zoom only. In October, it'll be another hybrid event in person and in Zoom. Be sure to get our church newsletters, and you can sign up for them simply by emailing me or checking in with me, and I'll be very happy to get you all of the information about events that are going on here at the church and around the world, all of the new health and longevity breakthroughs that are happening. Let's go to our creed. We believe that all of life is sacred and that we have been given this one life to make unlimited. We believe in our Creator's divine plan for all of humanity to have infinite lifespans in perfect health and eternal joy, rendering death to be optional. By following our prophets, we achieve eternal life, creating a heaven here on earth. We follow Nikolai Fedorov, who taught that the transcendence of the Creator will only be solved when humanity, through our unified efforts, become an instrument of universal resuscitation, when the divine word becomes our divine action. And we follow Arthur C. Clarke, who said the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. And so we start each day energized in spirit and empowered by the words of our prophets to live in joy, serving our Creator and all of mankind forever and ever. I'd like to thank you for giving to the church. Many of you give donations, and that can be done easily online. If you go to our website, you can click on the PayPal, click the link there. You may notice we have a new website format, and we're very happy. We thank Janice and Tanya for the hard work they did to create our new website. But you'll find our link there at the top of the page. You can make a donation online, and we appreciate that. It helps us to improve on all of our future events. We have a great list of speakers tonight. And tonight we're going to start with Joe Bardin. Joe, as most of you know, is the Master of Ceremonies at the RAD Festival. He is the Director of Communications for the Coalition for Radical Life Extension, which is the organization that produces RADFest, and the Director of Communications for People Unlimited, an organization dedicated to radical life extension and physical immortality with its headquarters in Scottsdale, Arizona. He has spoken on the subject of physical immortality throughout the U.S. and internationally. Something you may not know, though, is Joe is an essayist and playwright. His nonfiction has appeared in numerous publications, including Interim, Louisville Review, Superstition Review, Volume 1 Brooklyn, Eclectica, Rock and Sling, Bull Journal, Pithead Chapel, among others, and has been anthologized in the Transhumanist Handbook. His plays have been read or produced by Times Square Players in New York City, Theater Artist Studio, Theater Collaborative, Order Chaos Theater Company, Space 55, Herberger Lunchtime Theater in Phoenix, Winding Road Theater in Tucson, and La Jolla Theater Ensemble in San Diego, California, Monroe County Civic Theater, Bloomington, Iowa, and the KMC Onstage Kaiserslautern in Germany. Joe has a quick talk on the RADFest tonight. Let's welcome Joe Bardin for his talk about the RADFest. Joe.
Hi, Neil, and hi, everybody. Thank you, Neil, for that introduction. I think you read all the theaters where my plays have been before. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear that. It's nice to be with everybody. I'm speaking to you from Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm also, as Neil mentioned, I'm a part of People Unlimited, which is the other immortalist community in the US. And so we have a special affinity with the Church of Perpetual Life. And it's great to be with you guys. So RadFest is coming right up. It's literally like, what is it now, Neil? Like 2 weeks away. It's September 5th, September 5th through the 8th in Anaheim, California. It's at the Hyatt Regency, which is like literally 20 minutes from John Wayne Airport. It's really easy to get there. And I just want to really invite everyone to be a part of this. So this is our 9th RadFest, and you guys are the Church of Perpetual Life, and RadFest is the Conference of Perpetual Life. We are, we're really the conference that is dedicated to age reversal and to setting the paradigm for unlimited lifespans. And so there's a lot of longevity conferences. There's a lot more longevity conferences now since we started. I think a lot of people got inspired from RadFest. In fact, I know they did, which is okay. But I want to encourage you guys to join us and be a part of this. So RadFest stands for Revolution Against Aging and Death. And it is a revolution. And this is a grassroots movement. And we do feed on the human connection. And for those of you who've been to RadFest, I can't see everybody's face right now because of the speaker mode, but for those of you who've been to RadFest, you know it's about the science, it's about the medicine, it's about the protocols, it's about the products and services you can learn about there, and it's about the human connection. So Bill Falloon, in some of our communications about this, he said, well, RadFest is where you nurture the circle of people who really care about whether you're here and whether you're able to stay here. And that's critical. Like, we all need this. We all need this community. We're actually all community deficient when it comes to longevity, but we're just so used to it, we don't realize it. And RadFest is the way to tap into. It's your community. Really, these are your people. These are people from all over the country, all over the world, who are passionate about super longevity and age reversal. So let me tell you about a little bit about this year's RadFest. First of all, Bill has predicted that this year's RadFest, there'll be more breakthroughs announced for longevity and age reversal in this year's RadFest than any other RadFest and possibly any other conference ever. So if you think not a lot is happening, a lot is happening. And there are exciting breakthroughs that are going to be reported. And yeah, you'll hear about them eventually, maybe, but it's so much more, honestly, it's so much more joyful and exciting to be there on the spot. Even just to hear Bill Falloon, I mean, he does an hour, he'll do the most loaded hour on longevity and what's happening in super longevity that you'll hear anywhere. And yeah, you can watch it recorded, but wouldn't you want to be there live to cheer him on and to feel the energy? So this is going to be the most immersive RadFest ever. And for the first time, we're having breakout sessions. We're calling them breakout labs. So it's September 5th through the 8th. So it starts Thursday night. It's going to be a huge kickoff. It's going to be exciting and fun, and there's entertainment. That's why it's a fest, RadFest. And then on Friday, there are going to be breakout sessions. And then on Saturday, there are going to be breakout sessions. So there are breakout labs in brain longevity, women's longevity, psychology of longevity, empowerment. Like, don't leave out your person and your personality. It's one of the most powerful forces we have right now for longevity or not. And we all face tough things. We face tough things in life. It's been a really tough year for me. And it's vital that we have the capacity for renewal and to raise our spirits and to keep going, because difficult things happen, and we have to live. We have to keep going. We have an activism and community lab that's going to be led by Neil Vandery. So I'm excited about this. RadFest is a hub for other activists and for other communities. And I'm excited that we're having this lab where we're going to be able to delve into that more. And we're going to have a longevity lifestyle lab, which is led by former Olympic gymnast Stephen McCain. So a lot of cool stuff happening there. And you're going to hear from like the top scientists and practitioners that you know of, but you're also going to hear new names. For the first year, we have Dr. Ranjan Nag. So Dr. Nag is, he teaches genetics at Stanford Medical School, and he's also a highly accomplished AI entrepreneur. I mean, he's going to speak about AI and longevity and a vaccine for aging. And this guy is probably like one of the most best positioned people to actually really talk about how this is going to come about. And that's good for our longevity. It's good for our longevity to see a future for ourselves. Dr. Gary Richter is going to talk about pet longevity. We want our pets to live, right? We love our dogs and cats and whatever else. There's really going to be a tremendous presentation by Dr. Jason Williams and Liz Parrish. Dr. Williams has been treating his mother, and he is seeing some remarkable results. Age reversal is happening now. It's not just for the future. It's happening now. We're at the tip of the revolution, and I encourage you to be a part of it. And we have Dr. Jordan Sheldon, who has some really innovative neurological treatments. This is just a few of the brand new scientists and practitioners and that are going to be there. Let me tell you about. We're also, the other way we're making RadFest very immersive is by having collective Q&As at the end of each main stage session. So you're going to have time to meet with experts in the breakout labs, and then you're going to have time for questions in the main stage sessions. So there's going to be a lot of time. And of course, there's always the time to celebrate and have fun at RadFest. Now, the other feature of RadFest is Rad City, which is the Product and Services Expo. Okay, this year there's going to be a lot of things you can do for your longevity on site, which is, it's convenient, but it's also, you're going to get discounts and you're going to get more guidance than you might get otherwise. So there's going to be a cancer check lab with revolutionary blood screening tests for cancer, homocysteine testing and biological age calculation. Exclusive, there's going to be APO genetic cheek swabs. This is to identify genetic predispositions for Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease. True Diagnostic is going to be doing epigenetic age testing. DexaBody is going to be doing body composition analysis. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to get inspired about. There's a lot to do there for your longevity. And it's an opportunity to be part of the revolution and to show up. You know, we enjoy RadFest so much, and the people who go to RadFest enjoy RadFest so much. It's just a shame we can only do it once a year. It really is, because there's so much energy and we get so boosted, and people change their life patterns. I mean, if you're on a great path for longevity now, that's great. I can tell you there's always something new. I mean, I hear about all this stuff and I can't believe there's always something new. So there's always enhancements to be made, but you're also, by being there, you're inspiring other people to get on this path, because human beings are social creatures. We all are. We're all affected by the people around us. So by being a part, like showing up for your revolution, you're inspiring other people. I mean, we have first-time people at RadFest all the time, and it's the single best way to introduce someone to what we're all about, to introduce people to the potential of perpetual life. It's the single best. It's one weekend, and it's powerful. It's powerful for you, and it's powerful for me, and it's powerful for people who've never been there before. So before I finish, I need to tell you about our special offer right now. We have 10% off, and the code is go to radfest.com. So RAAD fest.com. You can get 10% off the general admission. Use the code word Perpetual to get 10% off. But also right now, we're doing a basic ticket. So the basic ticket doesn't include the meals and the parties, but it includes everything else and all the learning opportunities and all the Rad City and everything. And that's for under $600. It's like 500 and something. So you can take advantage of those deals. And thank you very much for having me at Church of Perpetual Life.
Thank you, Joe. You know, I've never missed a Rad Fest. It's a wonderful event. It's more than a conference. It's a really it's a festival. It's a real celebration of life. And you'll find, you know, at a conference, you'll get lecture after lecture on science, but you'll have lectures broken up with skits and plays and songs and exercise. It's a real unusual and fantastic event. If you've never been, you've got to go. We as a church will have a booth at the Rad City Trade Show. Rad City Trade Show is always fun. So as Joe said, go to radfest.com, or you can go to the website. We have in the events at our church website, we have the listing for the Radfest as well. You can go there as well. Joe, thank you for coming and telling us all about Radfest. So great to see you.
You too.
Our next speaker tonight is Elaine Walker, and Elaine will talk about several life changes that saved her from debilitating fatigue, plus working with Austin Biotech. Elaine is a microtonal music composer, inventor, and author. Her physics philosophy book, Matter Over Mind, Cosmos, Chaos, and Curiosity, illuminates the deeper dynamics of the world and a better way forward for humanity. She's a proponent of super longevity and cryopreservation. As a member of Alcor, let's welcome Elaine Walker.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is the first time I've ever talked about this particular topic in public, so this will be fun. So 5 things that saved me from horrible, debilitating fatigue. I didn't even realize how bad it was until I look in retrospect. It just dragged on. So up through 2016, I had a really good amount of energy. I've always been the same way. I've always sat and focused for 10 hours straight on whatever I'm working on, whatever nerd stuff I'm doing. But then 2 to 4 times a week, I do some vigorous workout, like martial arts has been my thing for a long time. And that's just always been my default state. But then came 2016, where I had like a drastic lifestyle change. And it turns out it just didn't really fit my personality, but I didn't realize. So I moved from Phoenix back home to New Mexico to my childhood house to take care of both my parents had Parkinsonism. And just hadn't foreseen how busy that would be, and all the social activities and just all the millions of different people I would have to talk to constantly. It just somehow blindsided me. So I kept retreating to the chair nest, we call it. And I didn't know what was happening to me, but I was doing martial arts, so that helped. But then came the 2 years of no exercise, which was just a crazy string of events. So like I injured my shoulder, and then took an entire year to heal because I'm lifting my mother. And then right when I was ready to go back, the COVID shut down my kickboxing gym. And then right after the gym finally opened, we all got COVID. And then I got long COVID, blanketing this more fatigue on top of other fatigue. It just kind of piles up. So in the middle of all that, I pretty much figured out that I had autism. So that was a big explanation for fatigue. It explained like why this new lifestyle with like so many human interactions and so little me time to do my work was tiring me out. So it all started to make sense. And so I was actually so incredibly happy to realize I had autism because it explained everything. And so I embraced it and I doubled down. So this meant embracing the dim morning lighting, like keeping the lights dim in the morning. And you guys will know all the things that's wrong with all of these things. It meant embracing sitting and working for 10-hour blocks of time without moving. And like everyone said, you just need to demand your own time. So I did that. So here I am back to my old lifestyle, but with no exercise to fix that. So it also meant embracing my kind of mild frustration, which is always been my default state that I'm most comfortable with. But I think I probably had like chronic, slightly elevated cortisol levels my whole life. So that can't possibly help with energy. And I embraced my bad autistic sleep habits. So anyway, by the way, March 2022, I was finally diagnosed with autism at age 53. So by the end of 2020, I was just almost always super sleepy and fatigued. And I just could not imagine going to exercise class. And the sleepy, sad state just went on. And I just kept doing what I needed to do. So fast forward to 2022, how I finally fixed my fatigue, which was another 2-year process. So of course, it started with discovering intermittent fasting. So that was a life changer. I knew people that intermittent fasted in Phoenix and just kind of made fun of them. But I finally got serious and I went to YouTube and I searched and I clicked on a video called Have More Energy or something. And of course, it turned out to be David Sinclair. So that's how I discovered him. I hadn't realized that fasting really gave you energy. So that particular video was about the dinner only diet. So that's what I did at first. And it was so easy to do. And I felt more energy. I felt clearer and better just within a couple days. So I was really surprised by that, like how easy it was. I didn't eat much carbs to begin with. So that was easy for me to just slide into fasting. And I liked the idea of fasting, buying less food, wasting less time in the kitchen, etc. So, but still, I was only at like 40%. So my sleep was just so terrible. It has to start with sleep, really. Like you can't get very far without sleep. So I honestly didn't realize I had the capacity to make melatonin at my age. I'm 56. I didn't know you could still make melatonin. So, but to accomplish this, I had to attack sleep from like every possible angle. I had to rethink everything. So now I present to you with my 9 personal guidelines for sleep. So the first few days are painful. If you just have terrible sleep and you got to start from somewhere, it's going to be painful at first, but you just have to do it. So stop eating a few hours before bed. So I had to move my dinner only, whatever my eating window, earlier in the day. And then get up in an optimal hour, just on day 1, just set your alarm. What's the hour you always want to get up? Just do it. Then your melatonin will follow if you just do these things, but eventually your melatonin will lead. So now every night at 9, my melatonin tells me like I'm ready for bed. So I also find that getting up just naturally gives you more bang for your buck. So if you happen to wake up naturally, say an hour before your alarm goes off, like go ahead and get up. It's just more restful than being like blasted out of your dream. Let the light in your eyes first thing in the morning. You know, a lot of these things are going to seem obvious to everybody, but I really had to figure this stuff out. So I just started looking out the kitchen window to get that feeling in my eyes. And obviously it's better to go outside, but that took several months until we finally got a nice porch. I went outside and would watch the cat in the morning. Light up the house. I hated this at first. Autism doesn't like bright lights, but the more I wake, I feel the more light I can handle. So I got used to that. Dim the house in the evening. Give your melatonin a chance to kick in, and make the bedroom cold and pitch dark. Like I really didn't like this at first either. I like a little light. I like to be able to see the intruder. So like I'm the back against the wall person at the restaurant, and I'm kind of the same way in bed, but I got used to it. And go to bed ridiculously earlier than you think, until you get your sleep under control. So I really had to convince myself that my sleep time is not available to me to sneak in more work time. Like every now and then I really just have to sit with myself and have a serious talk with myself. So no laptop in bed. So I still have my phone at bedtime, but I find a boring monotone podcast, screen down, put it way over there, and not on autoplay, because you got to let your brain breathe while you dream. So I started embracing dreams again. So now I try to recall my dreams the next morning, try for lucid dreaming like I used to. And we sleep so much of our lives, and it's so important that we may as well get the most out of this like supremely important part of our lives. So once I got sleep under control, I tried exercising at home, but like the fatigue still made it hard to be disciplined. I just somehow was still fatigued. I was just nowhere near, I mean, I was maybe not as fatigued, but I had lost all the muscle off my nerd arms by then, and my joints were really sad. And I just didn't want to go get injured again. So, but I had to start somewhere. So what I did next, there's exercise take 2. I signed up with a personal trainer at a gym for 3 months to gain muscle mass. And I was upping my protein. This whole time I was tweaking my diet, learning about health diet. At the time I was only eating apparently like 830 calories a day just naturally. So they got me to eat a lot more and lengthen my eating window. And after a 3-month period, I had gained 3 pounds of muscle and 7 pounds of fat. But it was a start. And then the best thing I got out of that whole experience was that I discovered a dry infrared sauna helps my muscles recover. So anyway, I tried Pilates, hot yoga. I could do those just fine, but they weren't for me. So I finally made it back to my kickboxing class. But I had to save my knees because of my age. And I'm pretty sure this is what saved my knees, glucosamine. But now I have more energy just within a couple of months of finally getting back to my exercise. After my sleep, after my diet, I have more energy than anyone else there. It's obvious. And I'm the oldest. And it's like at the beginning of class, I might still be sleepy because it's in the morning, but I can feel more energy just like coming into my body the more the workout goes. And I'm pretty sure that's the fasted state. And I've experimented with like eating breakfast or eating before bed, and then I get tired just like everyone else. I just get tired during class. But if I'm in a fasted state, I get more energy as class goes. It's so weird. So, but I need a few days to recover each time is the thing. It's just my age, I guess. So I might actually rejoin that other ridiculous workout gym just for their sauna. So then I tweaked my diet. I have a weird unique ability to just decide something tastes good if I know it's good for me. So that could be a talk in itself. So I'll just say that I basically do the Mediterranean diet and always break my fast with protein. So at 56, I'm always just trying to build muscle. And then the last thing was that I really didn't know anything about biomes. I didn't know any of this stuff. So I learned even about the gut-brain axis. So, I got my biome going and I started taking this, what is it? I guess a supplement. It's a probiotic. It's a medical grade probiotic called Neroli, which just so happens to be for 2 things, Parkinsonism and ASD, autism, which is what mom and I have. So I originally looked at it for mom and then I tried it and it helped me sleep even better, and it made me more relaxed, less cortisol. So there's pros and cons about it actually, because I actually, just to summarize, actually get less work done now because I don't have that frustration drive like I used to. I'm like relaxed and I'm energetic, so I can't sit still. So that's going to be my next adventures to figure that out. So just to summarize, sleep, fasting, exercise, keep tweaking your diet, and get your biome under control. And so I want to take it to the next level. So ironically, when Zach Vacaris from Austin Biotech came on Perpetual Life, that was about 5 months ago. This is personal, but I had just missed my first cycle, female cycle in my life. that month, like the month before. So I was like, this is kind of crazy. So I watched it. I signed up with them and we're just starting to get going. We just had some consultation calls and we've both been on vacation. So we're going to finally start getting going with that. He did all the blood work and here I am, like confirmed completely fertile at 56. Not sure what to do with that other than say that's for longevity. This is for longevity. Females really go downhill once you go through menopause. So I was really happy about that. But there's still more. I can tell thinning hair, thinning skin. I can still tell my terrible joints that there's something going on, aging in my body. So I can't wait to work with Austin Biotech. I love talking to Zach. He's like, we're on the same level, I think. And I just get all good vibes from that company. So I'll paste the video in case you guys didn't see it so you can learn about them and their website. And I'd love to come back sometime and talk about that.
Great. That's great, Elaine. Thank you very much. Everyone, thanks for your wonderful presentation. I appreciate that. And we look forward to talking with you more. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Our next speaker is in an area where they have no electricity. They have no low bandwidth. We're going to bring up Devin Neko next. And let me tell you a little bit about him before we bring him up. And he's going to be in audio only. Devin is a morphological freedom advocate from West Palm Beach. He's 37 years old and follows a weekly protocol of supplements and pharmaceuticals. They attend the University of Miami, having studied urban planning and design, interested in life extension, body modification, and enhancements. Devin's been a member of the church for many years, going back to our old location in Hollywood, and it comes almost all the time and always brings his friends. Let's bring Devin Neko.
In order to keep everything succinct, I wrote a script here, so I'm going to try to stick to it so I can get everything out in a reasonable amount of time. All right, I'm going to talk about the structure of my protocol, which is a weekly protocol. Mainly, it's focused on rapamycin use and optimizing for rapamycin use. But I think the key innovation around my protocol is that I've added pioglitazone as a way of optimizing for rapamycin so that you can get more of the benefits and maybe fewer drawbacks. So let me see here. Because rapamycin use is on a cyclical protocol, usually weekly or biweekly people will use it. That involves a phase of catabolism and anabolism. So the idea is to harness the powerful effects of rapamycin, and through autophagy, it helps to clear out cellular waste and such. So during the rest of the week, though, you have to go back into anabolic mode. So the pioglitazone is intended to help to ensure effective and quick recovery and rejuvenation during that time so that you get more out of that cycle. So firstly, I take rapamycin 5 milligrams on Fridays so that, if you're unfamiliar, it's a regulator of the cellular growth and aging cycle. So it helps to inhibit mTOR, which stimulates autophagy, which is important for degrading damaged components and recycling cellular materials. So this has been shown in animals so far to improve cellular maintenance and reduce age-related damage. Subsequently, I take pioglitazone 15 milligrams every day with dinner. And pioglitazone is a PPAR gamma activator, which is a peroxisome proliferator activated receptor gamma pathway, enhancing insulin sensitivity and mitigating metabolic syndrome. So beyond the glucose management, it also promotes mitochondrial biogenesis, which is the reason I really wanted to start taking it. So that helps to enhance energy production and recovery processes. So for me, this logically helps to complement rapamycin's effects by supporting cellular repair and reducing metabolic stress. I also have been taking metformin pretty much since I joined the church. So I haven't removed my 500 milligrams every day with breakfast. I kept that on. All three together seem to be working just fine. But I'm mainly taking it for the reduction in cancer risk although the metabolic effects have been nice as well. So I think it complements the rapamycin and pioglitazone just fine. And finally, I take acarbose with all meals. So that helps to slow carbohydrate absorption and reduces postprandial glucose spikes. All four of those together, I think it helps to minimize the metabolic stress. And also I get the benefits of the rapamycin at the same time. So moving on, let's see, the supplements are strategically selected to enhance the efficacy of rapamycin and pioglitazone and address specific physiological needs. So the other supplements that I take are mostly for eye health. So I take like zeaxanthin, lutein, lycopene, bilberry, things like that that are supposed to protect against oxidative damage and support retinal health. So I think that they protect the retina and overall cellular integrity. So I prioritize eye health very highly. For metabolic health, I do berberine, and I've still been on resveratrol despite the controversy. I still take it because both are AMPK activators, and I take berberine for that reason as well. So I think because they support glucose management and metabolic efficiency, they also complement metformin and pioglitazone. Tart cherry I take to reduce uric acid levels, which also helps to keep belly fat down and smooths out metabolic transitions between catabolism and anabolism. So I think that also provides additional support for the protocol. For kidney and liver health, I take nettle seed, a spoonful a day of nettle seed for the kidneys. It's a renal protectant. I suspect that there might be some similarities to the upregulation of clotho. I don't know if that's true. It needs to be researched, but there is overlap between the benefits of nettle seed and clotho because they both support renal function and also cognitive support. So that aids in detoxification as well. Milk thistle I take for liver. And there's evidence that shows that NAD levels are improved by taking milk thistle because of one of the components of the herb. So I've been on that for a long time, and I think that helps to protect the liver as well, especially during recovery. Phosphatidylcholine, I always take that without fail, which helps to maintain cellular membrane integrity and liver function. So that contributes to overall health, and that's during both catabolism and anabolic processes during the protocol. For brain health, I take huperzine A because it's a neuroprotectant. So I think that might help to protect cognitive health even while you're taking rapamycin, which I think is important. Let's see, phosphatidylcholine also enhances cognitive function because it helps to reinforce neural repair during anabolic phases. For skin and connective tissue health, I take gotu-kola because that's also associated with telomerase activity, which it also makes your skin very nice, gotu-kola, and helps to enhance recovery, which I think is important if you're doing rapamycin-induced cellular breakdown every week. So that helps with connective tissue repair. And also kind of not as popular, but for joint and connective tissue, I take Cissus quadrangularis every day. And I've seen amazing joint support from that. I have absolutely no joint pain anymore. And I used to, because I used to do a lot of harsh exercises outside, and I kind of ruined my knees for a while. But I went on the Cissus, and it's pretty much repaired everything. And I think it makes my skin tighter as well. So I recommend Cissus for connective tissue. And also glucosamine and chondroitin, again, for joint health. That's just basic stuff. But the main thing about my protocol, I think, is the synergy between rapamycin and pioglitazone. Originally, I heard of pioglitazone from Sandra Kaufman's talk at the church, and I thought that was the most important thing in her whole presentation. I'm not saying the rest of it wasn't great, but that was very interesting to me that produced mitochondria. So I looked into it, and I decided it was worth to experiment with. So I've been on pioglitazone for, let's see, about 7 months now, and it's been really great. I think it's activated a lot of the benefits of rapamycin to like another level, because I took rapamycin for about a year, and I noticed a little bit of benefit. But once I added the pioglitazone, my energy levels are through the roof, and I'm like working out every day, which I was working out 0 days a week prior. So like it's a marked difference. So rapamycin's promotion of autophagy repairs pairs effectively with pioglitazone because the combination addresses cellular repair and also metabolic health. So mitochondrial biogenesis and autophagy, I think together is a good synergy, because the pioglitazone will enhance the energy production required for the autophagy. You know, it's enhancing the lysosomal effect. That's my theory of why it helps to unlock that the benefit of the rapamycin to another level. So the rapamycin is inducing a catabolic phase through the mTOR inhibition, which requires that the lysosomes activity clean up the cell. So having more mitochondria means that the lysosomes will have more drive behind their function. So that will adding pioglitazone promotes both the biogenesis of mitochondria, but also insulin sensitivity, which facilitates recovery and supports energy metabolism during the anabolic phase. So I think they work together to create an optimal environment for the catabolic effect of rapamycin. So the pioglitazone then ensures that once the rapamycin's action has diminished on a weekly basis, the body can then effectively restore and rebuild and then maximize the anti-aging benefit of the rapamycin. So as I was saying, the lysosomal activity is increased by pioglitazone, which enhances the efficiency of rapamycin's autophagy. The protocol optimizes the balance between the cellular breakdown and the restorative effects of the pioglitazone. So with the targeted supplements amplifying these processes, you get an optimized balance. So during the anabolic phase, you get more restoration and growth. And during the catabolic phase, you get more effective autophagy. So I feel like it just brings out the best of both halves of the week. So in terms of working out, people always worry about taking these things and losing muscle tone and having difficulty working out. I don't have any issue because I have a strict pattern that I follow. My workout is strategically aligned with the anabolic and catabolic phases induced by rapamycin. I engage in intensive workouts Monday through Thursday, which leverages the effect of rapamycin, which I take on Fridays. So enhanced mitochondrial biogenesis and cellular repair process stimulated by the pioglitazone supports the muscle recovery and growth during the time of the week, Monday through Thursday when I'm working out. And then Friday, I take the rapamycin in the evening. So by then I've pretty much recovered from the gym. The cellular catabolic phase is initiated, and I can ensure that rapamycin's autophagic effects are efficiently clearing out the damaged cellular components during that half of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I don't work out till Monday evening. So by then I think I've entered that half of my week. So that strategy aims to balance the anabolic processes of pioglitazone and the catabolic processes of rapamycin, ensuring that both exercise and the pharmaceutical interventions are contributing to my overall health and longevity. So also the supporting supplements that I mentioned before ensure that I'm maximizing the anti-aging benefits and still promoting the overall health.
Okay, thank you, Devin. That was a very comprehensive presentation. Appreciate that. That was tremendous. I appreciate that. And we thank you for coming and giving us your presentation tonight. Devin Neko, thank you. And if you ever want to see them in person, they'll be at the Church of Perpetual Life almost every event when we're in person as well. All right.
Thanks, Neil.
You're welcome. So now let's bring our next speaker up, Dr. Peter Dreher. He's going to give us a talk tonight on how to live 30% longer by improving your gut microbiome. Is it as easy as drinking chicory coffee? The bacteria in your gut have a huge effect on your lifespan. Typhoid, cholera, Shigella, Clostridium, Difficile, and other bacteria can end your life in a matter of days. Other not so toxic gut bacteria can cause chronic inflammation that leads to early death from heart disease, cancer, or dementia. Tonight we have MIT alum Dr. Peter Dreher, who's going to speak to us tonight about how to live 30% longer by improving your gut microbiome. Tell us all about chicory coffee too. Okay, let's bring up Dr. Peter Dreher. And hello,
I can't do that Star Trek thing. Live 30% longer with chicory, especially if you're a mouse. And I have a PhD, not an MD, but I'm one of these guys, I can learn anything. And I just became interested as a venture capitalist in 2000 in longevity because I met Dr. Lenny Guarente at MIT. I'm an MIT alum. I was at a reunion thing, and he was giving a talk on Arthritis Foundation and how to reverse aging in joints. And he found that the sirtuins reduced DNA damage. And so that was his big thing. And his graduate student, his postdoc that was working with him is named David Sinclair. And so they came up with this resveratrol thing that I guess made David Sinclair a billionaire. So anyway, so the trick here is that the chicory has a chemical in it that's really good for you. And I first want to go over gut anatomy. What's happening inside your intestines? And now this is in particular the small intestine. And just at the very basic, so outside these blue cells, these purple cells, these pink cells, I guess, are the epithelial cells. And it's only one cell level thick. And on the outside of this, and so in the outside, that's where the poop is. That's the lumen, what's called the lumen of the intestine. And then on the other side of these cells, now these cells let chemicals go through like amino acids, fatty acids, and glucose. Okay, they don't let sucrose go through. Well, I think they like fructose. The simplest sugar forms they let go through. They do monosaccharides, not polysaccharides. Okay, now when it gets to the other side, the simple sugars and fatty acids and amino acids pass into these blood vessels. And these blood vessels then go to the liver, where these amino acids are made into proteins like globulin. And then, of course, fats, turns it into cholesterol and stuff. So cholesterol itself is too big to get through these cells, but it has to be broken down by enzymes like lipase into simple fatty acids. Okay, but now the problem is sometimes some toxic chemicals get through, and that's where your immune system attacks it. And these lymph vessels are right there in the gut. Now, like 90% of your lymph glands are in your gut because your gut's constantly being assaulted by these bad guys. Now, one of the bad guys, one of the worst bad guys, is a chemical called a lectin. Now, and lectins are these chemicals that are on the cell wall of bad bacteria. And so when your gut senses this bad lectin, it says, okay, I've got some bad guys like, God forbid, typhoid or cholera. Now, cholera is loaded with superlectins. That's why they're a problem. So when the cells in the system senses it, the liver makes a thing called zonulin, a chemical called zonulin, and zonulin comes and it opens up these tight junctions between the cells so that the white blood cells here in the lymph can go into the lumen and attack the bad bacteria. The problem is when you open that door, it's a two-way door. And so as much as the white blood cells may be going out, and because they open more than one door, they open, unfortunately, a lot of doors. The bad bacteria are coming in and they're getting in your bloodstream and they're causing inflammation. And the inflammation, your body fights with chemicals like, it's called complement, but it's basically hydrogen peroxide, superoxide. And it burns the wall of your arteries and blood vessels and makes them weak and scream in pain because they're burning. And so it summons the liver to send a low density cholesterol to patch those lesions caused by these inflammation from your body fighting the bacteria that got in through because of leaky gut. And so there's a famous doctor, Gundry, and others who said, hey, look, we can make heart disease. So anyway, when not only does the inflammation cause the lesions in the arteries, it also causes, and what one response is send in the cholesterol. The other response is contract the arteries to close the lesions, and that causes high blood pressure. And so a lot of people with leaky gut are on blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine. And the simple solution is just get rid of lectins in your diet. And the food that has the most lectins is wheat. Well, there's a lot of lectins in beans, enough to kill you if you don't cook them. Most lectins are destroyed by cooking, particularly pressure cooking, except wheat, barley, and rye. And they have 3 nasty lectins, one called gluten, which you've heard a lot about, gluten-free diet, blah, blah, blah. There's also gliadin, which is even worse, and wheat germ agglutinin, and you don't want wheat germ no matter what, because no amount of cooking gets rid of those guys. So the only type of wheat that you can eat safely is sourdough, and sourdough bacteria destroys the lectins. Microbiota in your gut. Turns out there's 38 trillion of those guys, and they're not all the same. In 2007, after the success of the Human Genome Project, the scientists said, hey, we need another big project because, we've got all these graduate students, and let's do a human microbiome project and map all the different bacteria in the human gut and other parts of the body, but mainly the gut. That's where most of them hang out. And they got $170 million, and it took a decade to finish the project. And they found that there are 38 trillion organisms on average, that's an average number, in the gut, versus the whole human body has 37 trillion cells in the human body on average. Now, of these gut species, there's 500 different type of bacteria, fungus, archaea, and viruses. We'll hear about those later. But 35 of the species account for 99%. So there are a lot of rare species. And what's interesting about these 500 odd species is they have 2 million different genes. And that means when you have a different gene, you make a different protein. So that means they can make 2 million different proteins, a really high diversity of proteins in the microbiome versus only 20,000 genes in humans. So we can only make 20,000 proteins, but these guys in our gut can make 2 million. Again, bacteria, which is it's like a plant type, has a cell wall with, it's not a protozoa. I guess there are some protozoa in there, but it's trivial amounts. But bacteria accounts for 99% of the microbiota. Fungus, much less so, obviously. Ones you've heard of are Candida, which is toxic, but there's a very good one called Saccharomyces boulardii. And health food stores sell it. A health food store you guys may be familiar with. Archaea, now that's the oldest form of life. It is like a bacteria, but it does not have the DNA is free floating. There's no nucleus in an archaea because it's more primitive. And one of the things archaea does is it makes methane, and it's the most active bad guy in the small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, SIBO. So if you heard people have SIBO and lots of gas, that's how they test that you're making methane gas and burping it and flatus. And then the bacteria, the viruses that are in your intestine are mainly bacteriophages, and these are viruses that attack bacteria and they kill bacteria. So that kind of keeps any one species from getting too crazy using bacteriophages. And I had a project with the Gates Foundation dealing with that. So bacteria in your gut, some are good, some are bad. One of the things they do is they eat each other. I found in my research with the Gates Foundation, I got 3 grants from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, developing a toilet. And my toilet, we kill all the bad bacteria, Shigella, Cholera, Typhoid, Klebsiella, Clostridium, Clostridium difficile, and a whole bunch E. coli. And we use a type of bacteria that's from yogurt and some yeast from beer. And those are food grade bacteria, but they have flagella tails, and in 24 hours, they eat all the bad guys. So you've got that same kind of competition going on in your gut. Now, some of the major species in your gut of bacteria are Faecalicebacterium prausnitzii. And I think Dr. Prausnitzii is the one who discovered this one. Now, this is the most prevalent species of bacteria in healthy adult guts. Other popular that are almost 100% present in all humans are bacteroids. Like 30% of the gut is bacteroids. That's a family, a phylum of bacteria. And the Fragilis, the Oralis, the Melanogenicus are in there. Now, E. coli is also in there at 100%. Everybody's got E. coli, and that's usually what they measure when they testing water for human fecal contamination. Now, what's interesting about E. coli is our good bacteria kill E. coli, and E. coli are the ones that make your poop stink. And so what's cool is my toilet in 24 hours, it kills all the bad guys, but it also kills all the smell. So you open the lid and I don't smell any poop. And whereas if you don't use our good bacteria, it stinks worse the second day than the first day. Now, unfortunately, in human poop, and about 40% of people, it's present in 40, if you did fecal samples, you find this thing called Klebsiella. Now, my special toilet bacteria kills Klebsiella, but Klebsiella kills 400,000 people a year. And it's not that it's deadly in your intestine, but if it gets on your hands and from feet, okay, so a lot of these people are just pooping in the woods. They don't have a toilet and they don't have toilet paper. And so what they do is they wipe their butt with their finger and maybe they rub it on the grass, but they don't have soap and water. And so then they're touching their food and it gets in their mouth. And if it goes in your lung, 50% of the people who get Klebsiella in their lung die from it. It kills them. So that's why 400,000 people die from Klebsiella. Now, what scared the crap out of me is my mom was at a nursing home and she was getting these urinary tract infections. And one of them came up with Klebsiella. And I thought, oh my God, this is terribly dangerous. Now, good bacteria need special food. In particularly, they need indigestible starches. A lot of people say, oh, these are fibers. Some fibers are soluble, non-soluble, and some have indigestible starches. But the good news is that these particular indigestible starches to humans, we don't digest them. We don't have enzymes to break them down. But these indigestible starches contain some valuable chemicals for human life. And it turns out that these good gut microbes can actually digest them and make these fabulous chemicals. Now, the foods with the most indigestible starches are sweet potatoes. And in Okinawa, 70% of the people, 70% of the diet is the Okinawan purple sweet potato. And I'm sorry I didn't have time to put a picture of it. And we buy them in Florida. You can get them at Whole Foods. They're purple inside as well as outside. And they're grown in California, they're grown other places than Okinawa. And the people, like 30% of the people in Okinawa that eat all these sweet potatoes live to be over 100 years old. So it's a blue zone, and they say it's because of the sweet potato and that part of their diet. Now, another important, is part of the microbiome project, they discovered that inulin is another indigestible starch, and its main source is chicory. And we'll talk about some other sources later. And then other foods that are high in indigestible starch are pistachios, which, by the way, taste good. Sorghum, which use puff sorghum cereal. It's more grows better in the tropics. Jerusalem artichokes and mushrooms. So it's important to put these things in your diet. Try to fit them in once a day if you can. Now, inulin in the whole $170 million study found that inulin was the best prebiotic for humans. And recent studies have shown that it actually helps your microbiome. Now, so the thing is, when you have the good bacteria on one side, on the lumen side, they stimulate the lymph side to make better T cells and better B cells. So these better T cells and B cells are better at killing cancer cells and cleaning up your body as well as bacteria. So Dr. James Moon at the University of Michigan, I just saw this seminar a few weeks ago, has found that in studies, clinical trials with humans have shown a 70% reduction in cancer, or 70% higher success rate with people recovering from cancer when it's done in combination with traditional chemotherapy. So in other words, you use 5-fluorouracil on a tumor, and you add a inulin to the diet, and the remission rate goes up by 70%. Now, they also found that the mice that they tested lived with an inulin diet, where they were eating some inulin every day, lived 30% longer on average. They also noticed it reduces allergies. It reduces leaky gut. Now, one of the things that inulin does is it's converted. One of the famous things that the bacteria turn it into is butyrate. And butyrate is a chemical that, forgot another thing, it reduces dementia. Butyrate is what's it called? It is a ketone ester, and it goes directly crosses the blood-brain barrier. And a lot of people with Alzheimer's, they're insulin resistant, and no amount of sugar can get in their brain to make them think again. And so they need to have ketones, and butyrate is a great way to do it. So to that regard, inulin reduces Alzheimer's. Now, the other thing is butyrate causes those tight junctions to close up. It actually it's the key chemical in making the junctions stay tight. So it reduces the permeability, not the permeability, it reduces the amount of openings in your gut and reduces the amount of leaky gut toxicity. It has been remarkable in reducing autoimmune diseases. Now, a famous, I should also mention aloe vera is a key indigestible starch, and it also is active in reducing autoimmune diseases. And one of our members, Dr. Drucker, is involved with a company in South Florida that has pills that have been remarkably reduced lupus and multiple sclerosis and type 1 diabetes. And in fact, also helped with type 2 diabetes. So inulin is similar to aloe vera in that capability. But I should also have added here, it reduces dementia, which is important. Now, where can you get chicory? Now, the thing is, the traditional chicory was a replacement for coffee. And I got this French market chicory at Publix. And I noticed that it was also for sale at Target in South Florida. It is delicious. It's much less acidic. It's no caffeine. Caffeine, by the way, causes bone porosity and has your bone breaks, and that's a fast track to death. So I highly recommend. This is delicious. I drink this every day now. Now, I tried Cafe du Monde because that's all we could get in Ohio. And so the original chicory, there was an embargo on the South for coffee during the Civil War. And so the people in New Orleans came up with chicory. They planted chicory. It's easy to grow, makes a big fat root. Here you can see it chopped up. It's almost like a potato or a cross between a carrot and a potato. And they dry it, grind it as powder, and use it as coffee. There's the Cafe Du Monde. If you've ever been there in New Orleans, delicious beignets and the coffee's delicious. But this, and originally it was 80% chicory, 20% coffee. Well, this one, I tried this the other day. It doesn't have quite the same effect as this. Oh, the other thing is it reverses constipation. So if you have trouble, if you're constipated, this makes sure that you go every day, because it also increases the chicory also increases the mucus level on your epithelial cells, so things slide out better. You don't get choked in there. And so the people have caught on. I remember the Super Bowl or something I was watching, and people kept advertising this poppy soda. What the heck do we need another soda for? Well, it says it has a prebiotic. Guess what? It's Inulin. It's basically a chicory soda, and it's out of Austin, Texas, this hip and happening place. Now, I've tried this. A, it's delicious. B, I can feel the effects of the Inulin. It also helps with defecation. Overcomes constipation. And I don't know that it's expensive, but it's nice, and I highly recommend it. And I think you can buy it in the grocery stores in South Florida.
Thank you, Peter. I have a question for you, though, if I may. What are your thoughts on people taking probiotics?
Well, here's the problem with probiotics is your stomach acid kills most of them. Now, the best way to take a probiotic is with a high enema. So in other words, this is an enema stick that goes not just in the anus, it has to go to the top of the rectum. There's another valve, a sphincter at the top of the rectum. You have to get beyond that and then squirt it into the sigmoid colon where most of the bacteria are. And so, yeah, if you want to take a probiotic, that's the way to take it. You know, mix the pill with water, make an enema out of it, and shoot it in there, and then you're guaranteed to get the full spectrum. Now, the thing is, when we're younger in life, like in our 20s, we have a broad spectrum of bacteria. And as you get older, or if your diet is the same old, and particularly if you're eating processed foods, the problem with processed foods, everybody say it's bad for you. Yeah, the real reason it's bad for you is it's got preservatives in it that kill a lot of your good bacteria. So instead of having 35 species, you end up having only 5 species, and they're not necessarily the good guys, right? And that's the hazard of process. It's any food with preservatives in it, okay? And also some of these liquid soaps have this methyl isothiazolinone that, you know, causes dementia. It also kills off some of your good bacteria. And so probiotics are nice. It's just, I mean, there are some yogurts that have 15, 20 different species, but the only way that's practical is, in my mind, is an enema. You know, unless they have a pill that can make it all the way through your intestines, resist all the enzymes, resist all the acids, and then somehow get to the large intestine and open up, you know, by remote control or something, or some chemical trigger. So what's much nicer about the prebiotic is it goes in, no amount of acid destroys it, no amount of enzymes destroy it. It gets all the way to your sigmoid colon where the guys can eat it, and the good guys will eat it, and they'll grow and prosper, like they say on Star Trek.
Thank you.
In the Bible, go forth and multiply.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your talk. Appreciate you. Okay, our next speaker tonight is John Furber, and John's going to be speaking about glycation, cross-linking, and cross-link breakers. John Furber is the founder of Legendary Pharmaceuticals, and he's a scientist and entrepreneur who has been studying the biology of aging, development, and regeneration for more than 40 years. During this time, he has been piecing together a network model of the systems biology of human aging, which can be seen at his website at legendarypharma.com. So let's bring up John Furber on glycation, cross-linking, and cross-link breakers. John.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Tonight I'm talking about aging, glycation, cross-linking, and cross-link repair. As we age, arteries get stiffer, heart muscle gets stiffer, capillaries get stiffer, Skin gets stiffer, and kidneys may not filter as well. All of these processes can produce additional consequences related to aging, like high blood pressure, stroke, poor circulation, wrinkles, and so on. But what caused these tissues to stiffen is not due to anything happening inside of our cells. Important changes of age-related disease or decline occur outside of the cells, in the connective tissue in between them. This extracellular matrix contains long, strong protein strands such as collagen and elastin. These make up cartilage, tendons, and ligaments in the extracellular matrix. Over time, these protein strands get stuck to each other. They get cross-linked, resulting in the stiffness. Cross-links are covalent chemical bonds, which are as strong as the collagen itself, so they cannot get unstuck simply by stretching or massage. The links must be opened by a properly matched chemical that breaks the chemical cross-link. The chemical bridge that links two collagen strands together is formed when sugar in the blood or lymph chemically bonds to a collagen strand. Maybe you can see my my arrow here. And this forms a adduct. Okay. It chemically rearranges its bonds to form various inflammatory molecules and bridge to another nearby collagen molecule, such as a crosslink. Because sugar is called glucose, these sugar adducts are called glycation bonds. Sometimes they're called advanced glycation end products, which forms the clever acronym AGE, which spells age. Glycation happens more rapidly in uncontrolled diabetes because of the high blood sugar levels. But it also happens over a longer period of time in normal aging, even with low blood sugar levels. For this reason, uncontrolled diabetics develop many of the pathologies of aging in their 40s instead of in their 80s or later. Our blood always has at least some sugar, even if we're not diabetic, and even if we have a good diet and exercise routines. So while it's very beneficial to avoid eating or drinking added sugar, our metabolism will always make some sugar even if we don't eat any. So we need a way to remove the harmful glycation adducts that have bonded to the collagen molecules in the extracellular matrix. An effective therapy was developed in the 1990s at MIT and the Perpetual Institute. In the following years, these molecules were studied in many academic labs in the US, Europe, and China. Well over 100 scientific papers have been published in leading reputable journals. Lab testing found that this compound was able to cleave glycation crosslinks, as well as remove inflammatory glycation adducts. Subsequent studies found that it could improve the flexibility and performance of heart muscle and arteries in older dogs, lowering blood pressure and improving cardiac output. Interestingly, this is not just a temporary blood pressure medicine. Because it repairs the collagen, it creates long-lasting benefits. MIT and Perpetual licensed it to a startup company called Alteon, which began human clinical trials. They named it ALT-711 and later called it aligibrium. Phase 1 clinical trials showed that it is safe in humans, but then the company ran out of money and went bankrupt, so aligibrium is never brought to market. Now, patent is expired, so big pharma companies do not have much profit motive to continue expensive clinical trials. Today, aligibrium is still classified as a research compound by the FDA and not as a therapeutic drug. Health claims cannot be made for efficacy in treating aging conditions, but it is perfectly legal to experiment with it. Its molecular structure is very similar to vitamin B1, and it can be swallowed in capsules or dissolved in water. I've been working with researchers and contractors for many years to make it available for self-experimenters. We have produced it in strictly approved food manufacturing processes. I myself have personally been taking it daily since the year 2001, and I also put a few drops in my cat's food to improve their kidney function. We can make it available to self-experimenters with the understanding that it is not a prescribed drug, and I am not a medical doctor. I make no claims that it will cure or treat any condition. You can find more information, including references to research papers, on our website, legendarypharma.com/glycation.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. And we hope that we'll be able to see you in person at the church sometime. I know that you come to our Zooms many times, and that's what real science looks like. Thank you. Well, that was a very good presentation, and I know we all appreciated that. There's a lot of people clapping online. Okay, Rhonda Hammond is a macrobiotic nutritional counselor, and her talk is Longevity, Food, Nutrition, and Environmental Lifestyle Changes for a Healthy, Pain-Free Life. Rhonda holds a degree as a doctor of traditional naturopathy. She gives consultations to people on how to reverse aging through food, diet, nutrition, environmental choices, and other modalities that promote healing and getting your life and balance back in your life. Rhonda is a level 4 macrobiotic chef and counselor that has been trained by Michio Kushi at the former Kushi Institute. She's one of the early pioneers of macrobiotics. She is a cancer survivor. When she was 28 years old, Rhonda was diagnosed with a malignant melanoma, and she was told to do chemo and radiation. Those choices did not look good to her, so instead she did the macrobiotic diet and was cancer-free in 4 months. Rhonda felt that being a naturopath and a macrobiotic counselor gave her more of a rounded view of youthful health and preventing aging and disease. Rhonda's presentation again is Longevity, Food, Nutrition, and Environmental Lifestyle Changes for a Healthy, Pain-Free Life. Rhonda.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. So, yeah, I was never a good eater. I just ate like a teenager well into my 20s. And then all of a sudden, I found out I had malignant melanoma. I went and told my sister, because she's a doctor, and I asked her what she thought. And my sister's name is Dr. Sherry Rogers. And so I went on the macrobiotic diet. So I ate grains, greens, and beans every day. I did juicing. I didn't eat any meat. Everything I had was organic. And I really loved the diet. And people would say, wow, what have you done? You look great. And I said, well, I've been doing this weird diet called macrobiotics. And so they say that I'll be cancer-free if I do it. The doctors, I had gone to Roswell Park and Moffitt Cancer Institute, and they said if I didn't do chemo and radiation, I'd be dead in about 6 months. So I don't know if that's a scare tactic that they use with everybody, but I just thought if I did chemo and radiation, I would be dead in 6 months because I'm just not that strong and I couldn't take the chemicals, So I did the macrobiotic diet, and I was shocked, and my sister was shocked and really saw the power of food. She used to be an allergist, and once she saw what had happened and that I was totally cancer-free, she then went into alternative medicine. And that was like, 35 years ago. So I really have enjoyed macrobiotics, but I've learned that not everybody can stay on it. It's a lot of work doing macrobiotics every day. I find myself in the kitchen a little bit too much than I'd like to be. So I was wondering, well, how can I make it easier on people and still healthy? And that's when I became a naturopath. And I loved that well-roundedness of learning everything. And it's just been a journey, and I've loved it. So I was going to show you just how easy it is to do juicing. I mean, it can be just quick like that. Juicing doesn't have to take any time whatsoever. I've made some miso soup just to show you that. Miso, if you get the right miso, this miso is from South River. They're up in Massachusetts. And I used to get also the Mitoku miso, which is from Japan. So it's a great miso. It makes cancer cells commit suicide. And then I also use shoyu. Shoyu is a soy sauce, but the difference between soy sauce in the grocery store and the shoyu that I buy, and this is from Mitoku, the Japanese company, this has been aged 2 years. So it's just gorgeous. It really is. And you add this to all different things to make your soups. And I actually make a beverage out of this that's very healing. It's just delicious. So many things. These are just different foods. When I make my miso soup, I saute onions, and then I add in the water, and I add a little bit of chopped up carrots, and most importantly, I use sea vegetables, and I use wakame, and I use kelp, or I guess kelp is what everybody knows it as. So those two things go in, and the healing effects of the miso with the sea vegetables is just amazing, and it helps pull out chemicals, toxins out of your blood. Some of the macrobiotic things that I've loved to learn, and not many people have seen this. This is a sriracha, and the sriracha is, I make a lot of dressings out of this, and I'll show you in a second. I will take pumpkin seeds and I roast them in a cast iron pan with a little bit of sea salt. And then when they become roasted, you just sit there and watch a TV channel and keep stirring until you realize that they are roasted. Then I always use glass containers. I don't use plastic. Then these are the roasted ones. So they turn like they look like they're roasted. Then what I do, you put the roasted ones in the sriracha, and then you muddle them up, and that becomes just a powder. Then when I make my dressing, I'll add umeboshi plums. Those are also super healing. I mean, macrobiotics is amazing because every single product has a purpose and has a healing purpose. That's what I loved about it. And so I'm even outside of the macrobiotic world, I'm always looking for products that are healing. And I'm constantly reading ingredients and trying to find the toxins. Okay, I think that comes from my sister. She's always telling me about toxins. So, I mean, the toxins is what makes us really sick. Maybe before, I'll just change things a little bit around before we do some juicing. I wanted, one thing I wanted to say, that there is really only one disease. Just one disease. And that one disease is you're toxic in things, and you're high in toxicity, and you're low in nutrition. And so those two things, that's what causes all our disease in one way or another. We have names for them, arthritis and all these things, but you still go back to that one disease model. And that's what it is. So I was really high in, okay, when I was 20 years old, I had smoked cigarettes for 5 years. I know it's awful to think of that. Cigarettes have over 2,000 chemicals in one cigarette. And so I thought I quit smoking. So I'm fine. I'm in the clear. I'm not going to get lung cancer like my mother died of. So 20 years later, I'm at the stove. I'm making a sauce. My boyfriend comes in. I had just done the sauna. I did it for 50 hours, an hour a day, the infrared sauna. And this boyfriend comes in and says, "Have you been smoking?" And I said, "No, I haven't smoked in 20 years." And I looked down on my legs and I had all the nicotine coming out of my pores from 20 years ago. So these things absolutely get stored in your system for a long time or forever. And then they, you know, as we age, just things just wear down, and we're so much more vulnerable to be, you know, catching things, having things happen. And it goes to the heart, which is really bad for all those toxicities to go there. So I'm always looking at toxicities. And then I was thinking about alcohol the other day. And, you know, oh my God, there's like, you know, billions of dollars in the advertising for alcohol, that it's just one of those huge industries. And because they want us to keep drinking and giving our money to them. And, you know, it's nice. It's nice to have some alcohol, like a good wine, a nice real beer, like a German beer where they actually make it and take time to make it. And it's not made in like 7 minutes like they do here in this country. And those are great. But then there's liquors that have caramels put into it, and they put a lot of chemicals in those. And a lot of those chemicals are actually made so that you become more addicted to it. Okay, whether it's the sweetness or the caramels, but they all have a method to their madness just to get us more addicted. So if you're going to drink alcohol, number one, be careful of the pesticides in the wine. In this country, especially over on the West Coast, they have a lot of pesticide spraying on the grapes there. So try to go with organic as much as possible. I know that in Italy, they put on the DOC or the DOCG, and so that's more regulated by the government. They're having a hard time with the Prosecco. They're having a hard time with the Prosecco because that's just blown right up and everybody's competing. And I know of people that have had to move away from the Prosecco region because of the pesticides they are spraying. I think French wines are much more safer than our wines here, unless they're organic, you know. So again, just look into everything because everybody's trying to make a buck on us, and our health, you know, pays for it. I'll show you my infrared sauna. I love my sauna. I'm not trying to sell a sauna to you. You go out and do your research. There's a lot of bad products out there. They're just knockoffs and they have too many high EMFs. So do your research. I know there's a great company in Vancouver, Canada, and my sauna I'm going to show you is from Finland. Everyone teases me because I keep dragging this sauna around with me no matter where I go because I really love this particular one. So I'll show it to you. This is the infrared sauna. This is the control panel up above here. Here on the first one, it gives you 8 different lightings. So let's say if you want to go to sleep, that night and you're doing the sauna at night, I would put on the red. And then in the morning, if I'm trying to wake up, I would put on the like green, something to kind of bring you up. This particular sauna has infrared under the seats. It's got a ton of them on the sides and the back, because when I say a ton of them, there are, and also below your legs and under your bottom. So there are saunas out there that may look like, oh, wow, there's a lot of infrareds behind there, and there's not. They put one behind each panel, and you have no idea how little it is. So that's the infrared sauna. I just love it. I can take you in here. I'm not sure how there's the lighting up there. And I can put music in here. And I just sit in there for an hour. It's wonderful. It's peaceful. You can meditate, you can read, but it really does work. It really does work. It's wonderful to have that. One more thing I'm going to show you that I do, and this is kind of new in the last couple of years. This is the red light therapy. This is a full body red light. And there's many brands and everything. This particular one I did research on. They don't put a ton of money in their advertising, but they put the money into the product, improving the product itself. So this is a Hooga, Hooga. I really like it. You lay under here for 12 minutes, and then I turn over and I do the other side for 12 minutes as well. It's got so many benefits. It's incredible. So I have a sister who has lupus, and she's had a hard time breathing. And after 3 weeks of it, she's done so well. So that's that.
Well, this has been a great presentation. We appreciate you so much tonight. Thank you so much for your presentation, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Our disclosure statement. And so let me share that with you now. The beliefs and statements from our speakers are not necessarily shared with the Church of Perpetual Life. We are happy to have everyone give their presentations, but any statements made by our speakers are from them directly and are not necessarily part or agreement with the Church. So let's now go on to Dr. Howard and Tanya Grizzle. They'll be discussing the epidemic levels and chronic wounds that are causing massive loss of life and limbs, and what they are doing at VAC Chronic Wound Care to treat the people suffering from them, Wellness Unlimited. Let's bring on Dr. Howard Stoller, who is a PhD, nationally board certified MD, MA, and with him is also Tanya Grizzle. Okay, take it away, Dr. Howe.
Good evening. Good evening. Hey, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who is here participating and is so enthusiastic about life and health and all of the good stuff that we espouse at the Church of Perpetual Life, an outgrowth from Life Extension originally, with which I've been involved for many years, and really appreciate all of your input and your wisdom, and thanks for the great presentations. We're going to be speaking tonight, as Neil briefly mentioned, about the chronic wound epidemic, and it really is at epidemic levels. As a matter of fact, we have named it. I don't know who exactly came up with that name. Was that you, Tanya?
No, that's actually what it's called. It really is
a silent killer. Well, I said that along with, high blood pressure or hypertension, it has been gained, shall we say, the title of a silent killer. So we know there are more than one silent killers, and this is certainly one of them. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to, with great pleasure, introduce my dear friend, partner, and mentor, Tanya Grizzle, who's one of the most amazing, brilliant people in the world of regenerative medicine and chronic wound care, with which we use a lot of regenerative medicine techniques and products to help these wounds to heal, such as the PRP, aside from the allograft amniotic tissues and so forth. But it's really something that is amazing to be able to reach out into the community and help these people who so many are losing lives and limbs throughout the years. I mean, seriously, we're here really tonight to share some very critical information about this epidemic. And it's just absolutely incredible what the statistics are.
All right, so we are going to talk about chronic wounds. It basically is a silent killer because the demographics of most of the people that have these chronic wounds, and exactly what a chronic wound is a wound that's gone 30 days or longer without any progression and healing. Many people think that a wound, a nasty wound, a large wound, something, I know a lot of people are familiar with sacral wounds or pressure wounds, these large wounds on people's legs, which are venous stasis wounds, and then the wounds on the feet, which are diabetic wounds. Many people think that that's normal. They think I'm diabetic, so I have a diabetic wound and it's going to eventually heal, or it may not, but I'm not in any danger whatsoever. So Dr. Stoller, you want to tell them about the statistic there?
Yeah, sure. The statistics are just staggering. I mean, over 6.5 million people a year are suffering from chronic wounds. I believe that's just in the US alone. But
Yes.
That's just a staggering number. And unfortunately, it's growing. What is a chronic wound? Well, as Tanya was mentioning, there are different types of chronic wounds, and chronic wounds are like a whole different apple from wounds, even advanced. There's advanced wound category, but these are the real serious, potentially life and limb threatening wounds. Pressure ulcers or bed sores are injuries to the skin and resulting tissue, underlying tissue resulting from prolonged pressure on the skin, commonly known as bed sores. So these are in patients who are bedridden and are unfortunately very often not as they should be turned and moved and gotten up on a regular basis as much as they should be, okay? Then there are, of course, venous ulcers, wounds that occur due to the improper functioning of the veins in the valves and the veins in our legs. That leads to poor blood circulation and fluid buildup or edema in the tissues. Then you have probably the most well-known ones, which are diabetic ulcers. These are open sores developing on the feet, usually, or lower extremities of individuals with diabetes, often due to, once again, a combination of poor circulation and nerve damage. And most of this, of course, comes from poorly controlled blood sugar levels. Then you also have arterial ulcers, which are caused by insufficient blood flow due to arterial blockages. These ulcers often developing on the lower extremities or feet and are really a particularly difficult challenge to get them to heal. However, thank God we have some very wonderful technologies and products today, and the development is continuing all the time. But we've made a lot of progress and seen a lot of much more effective healing in the fact that these technologies and products have been in continuous development and advance.
So Dr. Stoller, on the arterial ulcers, these are people, when you see these ulcers, 99.9% of the time, it means that that person does have vein disease. And without fixing the vein disease, the ulcers will just continue to either get bigger, not heal, or heal and show up somewhere else. They move around. And so if you see an ulcer like this arterial ulcer, it's more than just an ulcer. It's more than just a wound. So it is a vein problem, and it's very serious, and that will not heal. It'll get bigger, and it can be life-threatening. Yeah, so if they're left untreated, they're all of these ulcers are very painful, and people suffer from them. What we see a lot of is most of these people that are affected, the demographics, of course, are Medicare age people and older. We see a lot of 70, 80, 90-year-olds with these. And so it basically, disables them. They can no longer get up, they can't move around, they can't drive anymore. And what that leads to, if untreated, it's going to lead to cane, then the walker, wheelchair, amputation, and even death. Because what happens with chronic wounds that go untreated, they become infected. When they become infected and they still go untreated, then we have an issue where the person can become sepsis and it will lead to death.
Yes, very good. And a very excellent point you brought up is that the underlying disease state leading to this poor circulation and all of that must be addressed. So in other words, many of these patients need revascularization, which is a surgery to open up the veins that are not, or rather the arteries that are not effectively delivering the blood. And without that blood flow, without the oxygen and other nutrients reaching the wound bed, they're never going to heal properly. Not to mention infections also blocking the healing of the wounds. So one of our top protocols, priority protocols, is to do cultures all throughout the process, because, you know, a wound may not look or smell infected, but we need to make absolutely sure, because that's a major, major block to the healing of the wound.
And when you talked about, you know, when we talk about the vein disease and you talk about that the blood flow, it's not good blood flow. So basically all they do is they do vein ablation, either chemically or with a laser. Simple procedure, does not hurt. They numb the area. They go down into the vein. They ablate it either with heat or with a chemical, and they shut the vein down. It's usually that large saphenous vein. And then what happens is when they shut it down, that blood will reroute. It will reroute, so you no longer have the problem of the reflux. In other words, the blood going down, but it can't circulate back up. And so we talked about one of the things that happens with these type of ulcers, these what we call the silent killer, these silent ulcers, is once you get to the amputation stage, which no one wants to get there, and we don't want anyone there, but there's a 5-year mortality rate, and your chances after an amputation is 50% greater. So of dying within 5 years, they say 2 to 5 years once you lose a lower limb. So not a good statistic, and not a statistic you want to be in.
There's a hidden impact because these wounds can slowly develop without really causing any overt symptoms that are palpable symptoms, making them easy to overlook or dismiss. So by the time they are actually, you know, findable, the significant damage may have already occurred, leading to serious complications. And we're talking about very serious. We're talking about potential amputation and potential death. I mean, here we are looking at some of the statistics again here. 108,000 diabetes-related amputations occur in the U.S. each year, and 50% of them are attributable to diabetes. 50% of the amputations that happen because of these chronic wounds. And that is
so if I always tell people, especially because many people on this call are baby boomers, and we're taking care of our parents now. You know, our parents are in their, you're lucky if they're in their 70s, but most of them are in their 80s and even older than that. If you see a wound, if they're in an assisted living, if they're in a memory care, if they're in a nursing home, if they are in a personal care home, if they're just being serviced with home health, you notice one of these wounds and you notice that it just doesn't look right and it's been there for a while. In other words, 30 days or longer, it is a chronic wound. And what that means is we can actually treat it differently than an acute wound. So home health will come in. Acute wounds, they clean, they put a nonstick pad on, and they roll a gauze over it, and that's pretty much it. They might put a little ointment on it, silver colloidal cream or Medi honey or something, but they're not going to treat it with biologics because they can't. And the great thing, the coolest thing ever is that Medicare actually will pay to use these biologics to heal these wounds, because the way they look at it is an amputation usually costs about $10 million to the insurance company. when they have to do an amputation. Whereas these membranes, even though they're very costly, they would rather pay for them than the amputations because it's cheaper. And I'm pretty sure the patient would much rather have the membranes and heal the wound that way than go through an amputation. So it's, it's really important. Once you have an amputation, of course, your quality of life is going to go down, depression, pain, just not a good life once you actually have an amputation. You have to be dependent on other people. And I know no one wants to become dependent, and people like their independence.
Very, very true. Tremendous burden on the medical resources, as well as the patient and the family. I mean, $28 to $31 billion annually on treatment of chronic wounds. That includes, of course, related hospitalization costs, long-term care surgeries, and outpatient services. But the burden is particularly heavy on Medicare, with chronic wounds being one of the most expensive conditions. Imagine, this is one of the biggest problems on our elderly, our parents who took care of us most of their lives, and we are, really responsible to help take care of them now. And so for this tremendous burden to be on Medicare, that impacts the elderly population more than anybody else.
Here's another thing is that if your mom, dad, loved one, friend, anyone is in a nursing home, is in a personal care home, is being treated by home health, I think this is really important because a lot of people don't know this. These facilities are not equipped to handle chronic wounds, meaning they don't have the staff. They don't have the trained experts. Basically, when you're in a nursing home, personal care, assisted living, or being treated in home health, they're CNAs and MAs, just medical assistants. They are not trained, nor do they know this stuff. And honestly, it's not their responsibility to. So if you see that, you need to bring it to attention, and you need to understand the word chronic. Chronic is exactly what it sounds like, chronic. It's an emergency, and you need to bring it to the attention and get a resource. That nursing homes hopefully can find you a resource. If not, I know Dr. Stoller can find you a resource, but you've got to bring attention to that, because people think by changing a dressing on a wound and cleaning it, it's gonna be okay for the wound, and it 100% is not. Yeah, and chronic wound patients are 3 times more likely to be hospitalized. They stay 2.5 times longer in the hospital. Okay, and you know what that means. When you go into the hospital, it's never good, because your chance of getting even more infection is even greater. So, what can actually be done? Well, when we talked about the chronic wounds, just know that it's being treated differently. And nowadays, the number one thing that we treat chronic wounds with, or that chronic wounds are being treated with, is one, we use collagen, which actually creates, let's just say, circulation in a layman's term. And within the leg, it actually also helps absorb some of the infection and actually help build the wound basin up. In a wound that is chronic and deep, we also use membranes or grafts, which the grafts that are the best, to me, I call them little miracle workers, are actually made of dehydrated placental amnion. So it is a natural substance, and within that actually dehydrated patch, it has all the proteins, growth factors, and cells to accelerate the healing process. And they reduce inflammation, and they also it will cause new growth, but what it'll also do is wherever that wound has stalled, it will get it out of that stall phase. So between collagen, the amniotic, dehydrated amnion, and then we also use a person's own PRP. There's a system made by Regenerative Labs. You can look it up. It's Regen Labs, and they actually use the patient's own PRP to actually spin down, pack the wound so that it can generate growth. Great products that are now available that Medicare pays for, that, if you looked at this 10 years ago, we didn't even have access to any of this. So like I said, be aware of these things, because at some point, if you're diabetic, or if you're in a nursing home and you lay for too long, and that pressure will actually cause a pressure wound, or you have vein disease, which most of us will or do, you're going to probably end up with one of these wounds, and you probably have seen it on someone or on your parents. So become aware of that so that we can, help others around us, because these are really serious things. These are some of the examples. The amniotic membranes are being used. the PRP and the collagen, all great things, all reimbursable by Medicare, which I love. And then when you actually go, things that are going to happen when you're being treated for a chronic wound, you're going to get a physical exam. It's just like going to a doctor's office, right? But the cool thing is now there's facilities, there's people who actually go to the nursing homes, go to the homes. COVID created all of that because during COVID, they didn't want people in the hospital because the hospitals were full with COVID patients. So people started doing a lot of mobile wound care. So that's real prevalent out there. It is definitely out there. But what happens is they do a physical exam. They do some lab testing, which is a must. So we've got to check blood work. They will do a culture to make sure that there is, no infection. They'll do something called an ABI, which is an arteriobrachial index, which just is to find out, do you have enough blood flow to make sure that it can get to the wound and help in the healing process. And then they'll determine where it has stalled. So there's 4 different phases in wound healing, and it's really important. And another thing people don't realize, and I've heard a lot of talks tonight about nutrition and supplements, and which are all wonderful things, but if your nutrition is not good and you come up with a chronic wound, you're not going to heal anyway. In order for wounds to heal, your nutrition needs to be good. Means it needs to be a healthy diet consistent of not only all your natural vitamins, but protein is super important in the healing of chronic wounds.
I just wanted to say a little bit more about collagen. Collagen is actually a natural source, a resource that the body produces. And it's a natural component of skin tissue as well as many other parts of the body. And it can benefit all the stages of wound healing. When it's made available to the wound bed, closure can occur where it was not occurring before. It will do so many things. I mean, wound deterioration followed sometimes by procedures such as amputation can thus be avoided. Collagen is a natural product, once again, and is thus used as a natural wound dressing and has many properties that artificial wound dressings that these, lower level like home care people do not have, such as it's resistant to bacteria, funguses, and viruses. And this is a vital importance in a wound dressing. It helps keep the wound sterile, therefore, because of its natural ability to fight infection. When it's used as a burn dressing, healthy granulation tissue is able to form very quickly over the burn, helping it to heal more rapidly. Throughout the 4 phases of wound healing, collagen performs all of these functions. It performs a guiding function. It helps to guide fibroblasts, in other words, to where they need to migrate and do their work along the connective tissue matrix. Chemotactic properties, the large surface area available on collagen fibers can attract fibrogenic cells, which help in healing, nucleation. Collagen, in the presence of certain neutral salt molecules, can also act as a nucleating agent, causing formation of fibrillar structures. Hemostatic properties, in other words, blood platelets interact with the collagen to make up a hemostatic plug and therefore help to stop excess bleeding where it's occurring. So many different properties of these natural products that are being used today. The amniotic membrane is absolutely amazing. So is the PRP jelly, and the debridement now, a lot of it is being done by a great ultrasound machine. What's the name of that machine, Tanya?
We use where we have contactless debridement or contacted debridement. Debridement is done in several ways depending upon the wound, the size of the wound, what type of tissue is on top of the wound. But it's Arabella is one of them, or a high frequency mist. But we do most of our debridement, to be honest with you, with some substances, Nexibird, Santil, some of these type of chemical debridements, because a wound cannot heal if it's not debrided. So it can't have a bunch of necrotic junk or dead tissue on top of it, because if not, the wound cannot spread into the wound bed and heal. It really is a silent killer. We lost a patient last week to this because he was stubborn and didn't want to go to the hospital, and he became sepsis. So it happens. I'm telling you, more you don't know until you know. And there's so many people walking around with these horrible wounds in pain or not walking, put it that way. And you need to be aware, especially if you have loved ones, friends, or just neighbors, anybody.
Yes, absolutely. So in closing, my advice to you would be learn all you can about chronic wounds, learn to recognize them, although it's not that easy. A lot of it is intuitive, because to know how to identify and therefore begin the process that's necessary for the healing, learning how to recognize, to know about chronic wounds can absolutely save lives and limbs, and you can be a lifesaver. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Stoller. Very true. All
My
right.
pleasure. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And we certainly look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Dr. Howard Stoller and Tanya Grizzle. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, packed full of information. That was really terrific. I hope you'll stay with us for the after party that we'll have in Zoom. And this is going to finish up our presentations for this evening. And please share this event with other people that you care about, people that you truly would like to help. And remember to Zoom with us next month. Our service next month will be September 26th with Natasha Vitamore and Emil Kendziora. We look forward to having them next month and wish you a very good night. Thank you very much for coming tonight.